Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for being here, I appreciate it. This week I'm working on a 10" by 20" swipe, beginning with some very bright colors, my crimson red, which I really like. It is a bit of a deeper red in comparison to some others I've used in the past. It's by Artist Loft, and I think that this red will really complement the swipe I'm working on based on my other color choices. Again, it is the deeper red, so the game plan here is to swipe my red through the remaining colors and leading into my neon orange and a bit of a sunset lava type pour. So let's see how this one works out. I also love this orange that my son picked out on a trip to the store one afternoon. I was getting some new paints and I asked the boys to help choose one paint color they thought was kind of cool. And of course, my younger son picks out the brightest, most obnoxious color at the time, which I thought was hilarious. Anyway, I've managed to work it into some pours and it's worked great. So we'll see how this shakes out with that neon orange my son really loves. So leading into some more bright colors with some brilliant yellow, again by Artist Loft, and I'll link the colors below when I'm through here as well in my description. And no, the yellow was a little bit too much yellow for my liking, but ultimately this swipe was going to take care of most of that color in the end anyhow. So my Cerulean Blue is one of my favorite blues, I believe. Now I had a hard time with this one because I was running out of paint a little bit too early, which was my fault. So lesson learned there, to mix more paint every single time. Okay, and so far so good with my color pattern for the red, orange, yellow, and blue. Now my titanium white is my color just for the sake of needing paint on the end there. Now back to the theme of not having nearly enough paint. This was a big fail for me. I will probably never learn, but I'll always tell you to mix more paint than necessary. So I had to swipe this with my finger down to the bottom of the canvas to make sure that all of my colors I had lined up managed to make it to the end of the canvas. So again, always mix more than you think you need, and it's better to have left over than not enough. Okay, and here's my black Oxide cell activator. This black has a combination of 5 grams paint to 10 grams Floetrol to 2 or 3 drops of Penetrol. So here in North America, in Canada, we don't have too much access, or I don't want to spend the money, I suppose, on Aussie Floetrol. So for me, I choose to make my own cell activator, again from Floetrol as well as Penetrol and a bit of paint. So here is my swipe, and I decided to go a little bit slower, so I'm speeding this up by about 2 times on the swipe, and as you can see, those cells begin to open up right away off the beginning. And again, to the theme of no paint, on the top right corner, look at all that space, just missing a ton of paint. So we'll see if I can correct that leading up here in a few seconds. Okay, now on top of me knowing I needed to correct the top corner of this painting, I had a good balance of my red, orange, yellow, blue, and the white, which we can just kind of discard. So I went incredibly slow, knowing I had to again correct where there was no paint at the bottom, I guess at the very top as we see it, of my painting, going incredibly slow, but wanting to maintain as much consistency and as much pattern there as I could without ruining the fact that I could have stretched those cells very far and had a bit of a warped look to the cells, which I didn't want. So I went very slow, being very meticulous on how quickly I wanted that paint to slide down the canvas on this particular swipe. And now, before I self-criticize too much, because I'm very particular about what I want to have happen, although knowing we have very, on occasion, little control over how this may turn out, what do you think of this color combination, the black, the red, yellow, blue, and again the white we can kind of just let go? Anyway, what are your thoughts on the initial pattern itself? Do you think lava, maybe sunset? Let me know. And now, to be honest, as I look at this back, I'm finding that I did a pretty good job at maintaining the overall look I was going for. So I'm nearing the end at the bottom there, I guess the top as we see it, getting some paint to all of the canvas, but knowing I've got to get to the sides as well. And I can see this red and yellow begin to tilt off, which gave me concern as I poured it. And wanting to, getting it back to a bit of a symmetrical look into the middle, so I had to decide fast, do I make it off center or do I try to tilt back towards the middle? So I decided to go back towards my middle and try to maintain that center point I wanted initially, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, and to be honest, I was quite happy with how the color combinations shook out here. And knowing I needed to begin to tilt back to the bottom, which was in front of me, so I wanted that black to eventually spill off the edge, making sure I didn't have big globs of black, oxide black, on my painting. So I was very careful with how quickly I managed to tilt this back and forth, trying to get the sides as well on my way down. So again, this is sped up quite a bit because I was very short on paint. Again, mix more paint than you think you need because we were always going to need more later anyway. So no, I was happy with how this lacing turned out, as well as the overall look of the actual swipe itself. The red with, again, the black and yellow cerulean blue, as well as my neon orange my son had chosen, did a good job at blending together real well. And the black lacing, I thought, looked a lot different than what I've done before with having used white for my swipes primarily. But again, a very cool look looking back on this one. And now as I put this one down for my pour that night, I was very happy with how things shook out and really excited with how this black lacing turned out. I'm very intrigued by how that lacing always winds up being in the end. I could have used a little bit less of the red down the middle there, but what do you do? Overall, the color blend itself with all my colors chosen worked out really well, and I was quite happy with the overall look of the swipe. So the yellow and blue found gave it a good contrast to the darker red, and of course the black on the top with a bit of a flyby on this side down to the crimson, which again was a very nice color, and I was quite happy with it. So ultimately, if you have enjoyed this video, please take a quick look at the video on screen, and we will see you again in the next one.